Today on Locked On Red Wings, the scoring explodes at LCA this weekend as Detroit sweeps its preseason back-to-back.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And on today's episode, guys, we got two preseason games to break down for you here. Red Wings beat the Washington Capitals at home 5-2, and then followed that up with a 6-1 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday and Sunday night, respectively. And so, I mean, Scott, I don't know how you want to tackle this. If you want to tackle this one game at a time, or kind of just point out individual performances from both that you thought just really stood out to you. We only have 30 minutes. It's going to be tough to break down two full games, especially with the turnover the rosters see from game to game. So you can lead the way, man. If you have anyone in particular you want to talk about, maybe we should lead off with the Fabbri stuff.
Yeah, I do want to lead off with Fabri. And yeah, I also think that doing two games individually, I think if it was the regular season might make sense. But for preseason and what we're like looking for on the ice on a night-to-night basis, I don't see any point in breaking down each game as an individual. I think we just do biggest stories and standouts, news and notes from the weekend. And yeah, I absolutely think that probably starts with the Fabri stuff.
Yeah, so Fabri left the game against Washington, obviously did not come back, and everyone's mind kind of raced, like, oh no, it's happening. And then unfortunately, that's just going to be the case whenever Robbie Fabri gets hurt, is people are going to jump to the worst case situation, because the worst case scenario with him has happened 3 separate times throughout his career. But thankfully, I guess, and it's kind of weird to say thankfully he's hurt, but not too badly hurt. It's an upper body injury, first of all, so it's not lower body. It has nothing to do with his knees. And they took him out more, Lone said, as a precautionary measure, and that he won't be out for very long. They just don't want him to really hurt himself in a preseason game. So that was a huge relief to hear, because it was just 2 days ago we were singing his praises after he scored 2 goals in the first game against the Capitals in Washington, almost getting Detroit Red Wings back into it. And then we were like, if he stays healthy, he can be a 20-goal scorer. And then he gets hurt the very next day. So good to hear that it was a precautionary pulling him out of the game.
Yes, absolutely. I think that I don't really have too much else to add, but I do think that that's everybody immediately just becomes terrified whenever Fabri gets hurt, ever.
Yeah.
Which understandable. We want to see what, and this year even more so, just because of how he's looked so far, in a limited sample, but all the coaches, man, are just raving. Everyone is going out of their way to talk about how good, fully healthy Robbie Fabri looks. And yeah, it'd be really sad if that got nipped early. So good to hear that it's precautionary. Shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. In the Chicago Blackhawks game, power play looked pretty dang good again.
Yeah.
And that also partly because you had your top unit out there with
helps.
Larkin, DeBrincat, Raymond, Wallman, Seider. All 5 of those guys played yesterday. I don't think any of those guys, I'd have to double check because the roster turnover from game to game is just absolutely nutty. I don't think any of those 5 guys played in Sunday's game, but still quite a few good NHL caliber players played in the Sunday game as well. I mean, dominated the Blackhawks, but the Blackhawks team is their NHL, their A team is going to be one of the worst in the NHL. So you're playing against their AHL team essentially on Sunday. But the point being here is I thought the power play looked really good on Saturday with that unit 1 out there. The puck movement was insane. They did the same exact, I think it was on a 5-on-3. And again, you're playing the B team of the Washington Capitals. So again, we don't want to take anything too seriously, take it all with a grain of salt. But it was exciting to see, that connection between Larkin and DeBrincat. And who got the secondary assist? Let me double check on that one for that first goal. But it's just been, that's twice now that connection has been made in that same exact fashion where DeBrincat soars that puck across the crease right to Dylan Larkin for the goal. And it's a little bit of a taste of what we're going to get. It was Raymond who got the assist on that goal. What we're going to get later. And then Seider again. What's funny is I think Seider got the power play goal the other night as well in that same game where they went 2 for 2 for 6 or whatever. In this game, the power play went 2 for 5. Seider was the other goal scorer in this power play as well, assisted by Lucas Raymond and Robbie Fabbri. And that was a nice cycle job along the boards too, where Lucas Raymond and Robbie Fabbri were cycling it down low, got it back to Moritz Seider, back to Raymond, back to Seider, who unleashed a bomb for a goal. So that power play, that PP1, the puck movement has been absolutely phenomenal so far in the early preseason.
Yeah, man. And that's one of the things that over the off, like, it's just so funny going down the rabbit hole. Like, this was something that we addressed in April when the season was still happening. Then it's something we wanted addressed, or we talked about on the show, I guess, in May, like in early preseason. And then it's something that when free agency opened, we said that we wanted players that would help the special teams. And then like you go down and then like, oh, we need goal scoring. Like DeBrincat would be cool. And then that happened. And like, then you get into the preseason and we start off with the Ofer, right? Like the infamous, 0 for 16 or whatever it was. And it's just like, it's been building for like literally almost half a year now, like almost 6 months. We've just been, oh my goodness, the 2024 power play and penalty kill needs to be better. The special teams need to be better. And now, again, it's the preseason. I'm not saying it's fixed and we're going to have, some perennial like top 5 power play unit in the NHL, but I mean, golly, they've looked pretty good so far in preseason games. And that unit specifically has looked absolutely fantastic. And I think the only other thing that I would add is just, aside from like this game in a vacuum, just overall, I think Ghost has been really good on the power play as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been exactly as advertised, which has been really nice for the Detroit Red Wings. I also just in general, that top line of those same 5 guys, that PP unit 1 is basically the same as now. I think it's been Ghost to spare with Seider on the first power play unit thus far, but in general, the line 1 of DeBrincat, Raymond, Seider, Larkin, and I forgot Larkin there for a second. I was like, who am I forgetting? And Wallman on that top unit for offense and defense has looked really good, but you would expect it to in a home game against the other team's B team. I think Larkin had 2 goals in that game against Capitals. The DeBrincat and Raymond had 2 assists. So just kind of performing as you would expect them to. Good to see it nonetheless. You wouldn't want them to go 0 for in these games. But, I mean, because Larkin came roaring into the offensive zone late in that game and just rifled home a top shelf, just absolute rocket of a shot. Other notables in that game, Zarnik scored in the first game against Capitals. Zarnik really just, Cross-Hannes was carrying the puck in the zone, tried to make a move, fell over, and then Zarnik was the trailing guy and got the shot off. Shepard wasn't expecting the shot and just beat him clean. So it wasn't like it was a drawn-up play. It was a broken play for Zarnik, but it was nice to see him score nonetheless.
It's a dog right there.
Yeah. And then Cross-Hannes rectified that. Even though he did get the assist on the Zarnik goal on the broken play, he got his shot later, burying home the rebound on Andrew Kopp's goal. And Nate Danielson picked up the secondary assist on that one. And I want to talk about Nate Danielson.
Me too, man. I'm glad you said that.
I feel like we should wait until like segment 2 or segment 3 to talk about Danielson, because that's going to be
the break.
Several minutes. But and then I'm sorry, guys. I know we're like rapid firing our thoughts, but there's 2 games to cover from this weekend. I thought Hutchinson and Husso, they did their job. 938 save percentage and 923 save percentage respectively. They did a good job.
About all you can really ask for. And again, like we're just really, it's like the only, not the only, that's not even close to true, but one of it is the biggest, I would say, question mark as we navigate through the preseason and go into the regular season. So that's still going to be something everybody wants to keep an eye on as the preseason goes along.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, too. I mean, Andrew Kopp was your best player at expected goals for percentage, 66.73 percentage with a 32% relative. Like that's may not have really shown up on the score sheet besides that assist that he got. That was he's really looked a lot stronger. So it sounds like all last season people were dogging on him, and we were preaching patience because of the type of surgery he had. And early in the preseason against B teams, though, albeit he's looked a lot stronger. So that's very good to see.
And like, we can talk about the caliber of opponent and stuff, and we'll always put that, kind of like preface out there, but at the end of the day, like you got to remember last season, Cop didn't have preseason, so
or training camp,
right? Or camp or anything. The opening night was the first time he had like skated competitively since the previous season, like that. And so for a guy like him, just getting that ramping up process, I think is going to be super beneficial. I was like the biggest Cop defender out there last season. And yeah, I'm really excited about what he can do this year.
Also, we cannot go into break without mentioning that Marco Kasper fought Anthony Mantha.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't much of a fight, but love seeing Marco Kasper step up to a big guy like Mantha. I'm surprised Mantha didn't break his hand in the process.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised they're letting Mantha fight. I think more than anything.
I think they're just letting Mantha do whatever Mantha wants at this point in his career. He hasn't been great for the he has not. Unfortunate, because I thought at one point he'd be a 40-goal scorer in this NHL. He looked so good.
Same,
but
I think maybe my first ever recorded take on this show was Anthony Mantha was going to be a point-a-game player.
Well, I'm sorry that's your first recorded take.
I think it is. I think it was. I was a guest. I wasn't even like a host of the show yet. It was Ethan and Nolan, and they had me on as a guest. This is like literally 3 years ago now. And yeah, that was like I think that might be my first recorded take like ever on this show. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to, I guess, talk about the Chicago Blackhawks game. We said we didn't want to talk about it game by game, but I kind of ended up steering it that way anyways.
No, but like, individual, well, yeah, we'll talk about it. It's fine.
We'll talk about it. It's Monday episode. We had 2 games to go through. Weekend was crazy. Forgive us if we're a little all over the place.
We're good.
First, I got to talk to you guys today about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to a peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts from your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to find. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are doing quick breakdowns on these 2 games that happened this weekend. Scotty, the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, I mean, it was even better than the game against the Washington Capitals. Just complete and utter domination. And we got our first look at Connor Bedard, the supposed generational talent in the NHL. I know I say supposed, and that sounds like a very negative connotation. And I do think he is that good. And obviously, he had such a nice play earlier in the game.
Yeah.
He had a really good game overall.
He did. I thought he looked good.
Yeah, he looked really, really good.
I thought he looked really good. Yeah.
I just hate the liberal use of generational at every first overall pick that comes in. He's probably the right one to use it on, but like every single year we have a number 1 overall pick, people call that guy generational. So it was more sarcasm towards the use of generational than it was towards Connor Bedard, because he's a freak.
He is.
God, he was so good in this game, but no points for him though. Regardless, I think he's only got 1 point through the preseason so far.
Yeah, he had an apple, right?
He has 1 assist so far through the preseason.
Yeah, I watched that.
But it's not for not without trying. He has looked absolutely fantastic. I've loved watching Connor Bedard plays.
I agree, and like we don't.
It's a shame he's in the Blackhawks.
Yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to spend too much time talking about Bedard. The national media does plenty of that. I'm not trying to have that translate to here, but I mean it is generational prospect, whatever. We played against him. Preseason, we same caveat we talk about our own players with, but B, like who is he playing with? Like they're throwing him out there with, he's surrounded by nobody, man. Like it's
okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because this brought up so Alex Vlasic went knee on knee with Elmer Soderblom in the third period.
Yeah.
It's actually more like thigh on thigh. Soderblom's okay, but
yeah.
I understand because of the way it looked and like how dangerous those plays can be. They gave a game misconduct to Vlasic, and they had to have somebody serve his 5-minute penalty. They had Andreas Athanasiou.
Yeah.
Again, another Red Wing we thought was going to be like part of the future here in Detroit.
But the difference is like with him is like I guess he maybe didn't reach the heights people expected him to, but like he did produce offensively. Like,
he just didn't play any defense.
He's just maybe literally the worst defensive forward in the NHL, and that's like not exaggerating. Like that actually might be true every single year that he's on an NHL roster. Like that's a legitimate like possibility. So, yeah, a little bit of a different, like Mantha just like stopped producing points. Like he just isn't a point producer anymore. AA is, given whatever his role is on his team, like he usually produces offensively. It's just he is a black hole defensively.
Yeah, but that's what was so funny to me is they had to have one guy serve the 5-minute penalty, and they put Andreas Athanasiou in the box, who they signed to a 1-year like $5 million deal just to get to the cap floor. I'm like, you're paying this guy big bucks to sit in the box for 5 minutes in a preseason game. Now, and I understandably, they're shorthanded for 5 minutes, and there's no way you're putting Andreas Athanasiou out there on the penalty kill. Correct. So it makes sense. It's like earlier in the game, there was a delayed game penalty, and you had David Perron serve the penalty because it was a bench minor. So they had to have somebody serve it from the bench. They put Perron in the box because he's not going to go out there on the penalty kill. It makes sense. It was just the optics of it was very funny to me. But anyways, we're burning
through
through
a lot of optics like that with the teams that are throwing out big bucks just to reach the cap floor.
Yeah. This was this was the best game I've seen the Red Wings play all preseason. And you didn't have Wallman, you didn't have Seider, you didn't have Larkin, Raymond, or DeBrincat, albeit you had your middle six playing. You had guys like Sprong, Rasmussen, Perron. You had Hiroshi, or not Hiroshi was there. But you had Kasper, you had Danielson, Comfer. Like you had your middle six and your top end prospects there. Edvinsson played. So, like, you had a really good core of players nonetheless for a preseason game, and they just dominated the Blackhawks from start to finish. I absolutely loved everything I saw from this game. And, I mean, I get it again. You're playing against the worst team in the NHL's B team as well. But I was so impressed with what I saw in this game. And Danielson, man, this game was his best of the preseason yet. I think there's a conversation we could have about it, but I still...
Chill.
No, I'm not there yet. My dilemma, my hang up with Nate Danielson's situation is it's either the NHL or the WHL. He can't go to the AHL. And I was actually DMing Boltman back and forth. And like, he's right. I agree with him. Like, he's not there yet to play in the NHL, because if he's playing in the NHL level, he's not, I don't think he's complete enough of a player to really unseat any player at the NHL level, because he's a center, right? You want him to play center. Like, who's he going to unseat? Comfer, Cop, Larkin, maybe Veleno, but you want your 9th overall pick to be playing 4th line minutes? That makes
no, but
sense.
Here's the thing. Even if it's obviously not one of the top 3, and even if it is the 4, even if it is Veleno, to me, that's more so a comparison of him versus Kasper than it would be him versus Veleno.
Yeah. Like, you want him to get the best minutes possible wherever he goes. And at this moment, even though he stripped the puck away from Connor Bedard to set up Simon Edvinsson for a chance. He got the assist on the Daniel Sprong goal because he went into the corner and dug that puck up for Sprong, who had, by the way, Sprong has looked so good too. I cannot believe how underutilized he was in Seattle. Again, I got to catch myself. It's preseason. Don't want to get too excited, but he's
preseason against the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes.
Yeah, I know, but it's not just this game. Sprong is
no, I agree. I mean, opening night. Do we call the first game of the preseason opening night? The first game of the preseason. He wasn't he the first goal of the year? He looked great. Yeah, he's looked great. He's looked great all preseason. I'm not trying to take away from him. I'm just saying, like,
to our credit, Kubalik did the same thing last preseason, where he was phenomenal all preseason. He was kind of that newcomer we hitched our wagon to. It was like, this is the guy to watch. And he had a really good season with the Red Wings last year.
Yeah.
He had 20 goals, which is, I think, the 2nd or 3rd best he's had in his career. Best career year he's had since playing with Patrick Kane.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, he had a really good year. So there are signs. Like, if they're playing well in the preseason, that doesn't mean they won't play well in the regular season too. It could be a sign indicating good play later. But anyways, I'm getting off topic talking about Sprong. Danielson, it's almost a shame he has to go back to the WHL. And I think it's still the right move to make. Give him top line minutes, be the captain of the WHL, get the seasoning. But if you could go to the AHL, I feel like that I think that might have be better for his development at this point, but he just physically cannot. He has to be either 20 years old or have 4 seasons in the WHL to make that leap to the AHL. That's like how that negotiation with the junior clubs worked with the professional leagues. And it's just, I don't know. It's not like he was absolutely tearing it up in the WHL. I get that, but
he'll go back to the W, and we'll see how he looks in the first couple of months. And like that'll be the big telling thing, right? Like if he goes out there and he's just lighting it up, then I don't think there's any reality in which he's playing NHL minutes this season. I think that's like a
not happening.
Yeah, like that's not gonna be a thing. So, but if he goes down when the season starts and you're seeing like, oh, he's clearly one of the better players, but there's still a lot to work on, then it's like, okay, like, yeah, this is like what we expected. He's good. He's a first round pick. Like he's talented, obviously, and whatnot. But I think the real like what to do with him, and again, I don't think it's NHL, but like the real like question that would become really hard hitting with that I don't think there's really anything he can do in the preseason to like force that hand. I think it would have to be he just sets the absolute world on fire in the WHL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make the argument for him to make the roster.
No, I know you're not.
Well, I'm talking to the people right now, Scotty, not you. I'm talking to people. I'm not trying to make the argument that he should make the NHL. I'm just saying that I wish he could go to the AHL because I feel like that with how good he's played in preseason right now, and for a 19-year-old kid who's never tasted professional hockey, playing against a bulk majority professional hockey players. I mean, there's plenty of junior players in here as well. I mean, a lot of these guys are fighting for jobs, and he's stood up to them, and he's producing points too. He's got a goal. He's got several assists.
He looks great. Yeah, I'm not trying to say he looks fantastic. He's blown past my expectations. I'm not trying to say anything otherwise.
I just wish he could go to the AHL, but ultimately going back to the Brandon Wheat Kings is still the smart move because he can continue to develop as a leader, continue to get top line minutes. Because I mean, if you were to make the Red Wings, man, he would just end up being like 4th line, and that would not do him any good either. So I'm just ranting that sometimes I don't like these rules with the junior clubs, but I get why they do it because they have to survive too. And if all their best players immediately went to play professional hockey, they wouldn't be junior clubs for very long. Anyways, we got to take another quick break. Scotty, it's time to talk to the people about AG1. Our next partner is AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. You got to drink AG1 every day because AG1 replaces your multivitamin, probiotic, and more in one simple drinkable habit. Science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food sourced superfood. As well as AG1 is raising the standard for quality in the supplement category, and it helps you build your health foundation first. Again, it is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers comprehensive nutrients to support your whole body health. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL network. Check it out. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are breaking down as best we can these 2 games. It's kind of like a rapid fire breakdown because 2 games happened and we only got 30 minutes to give you guys this episode. But who else from the Blackhawks game, Scotty, really stood out to you as a notable feature?
That's a good question. I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but again, like goaltending is always going to be like something that I think is worth a discussion. And the Blackhawks game was interesting because we saw Reimer and Lyon, right?
Yeah, your 2 prospective backups.
Yeah, so I think that's always just naturally going to be kind of a storyline when you see the again, like you just said, like the 2 backups kind of both playing in the same game, and we have a conversation we'll probably have this week, I'm assuming, about like what is really the plan with Lyon? Like, what can you really do with
We
him,
can
right?
plan on that for tomorrow, barring any big news coming out from the Red Wings camp, because tomorrow's an off day. Monday is an off day, so we'll
Right.
talk about it for Tuesday's episode.
Yeah. So but I mean, I thought they both looked good. I mean, not, easy to say that, I guess. Only one goal given up total. Not a very prolific offense, preseason, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's the best that both of them honestly have looked so far in the preseason. So we'll take that. I think honestly, and like I've said this about pretty much every single game. So I know you want to talk about Rasmussen too. We'll get to that in a second. But like,
He knows me.
the the person that I just after every single preseason game, I am blown away by like how dynamic he makes the offense is Ghost Despair, man. Like it's so unbelievable, like how different the offense is with him on the ice, and like all the same caveats, Blackhawks B team, whatever, preseason, et cetera, et cetera. But like he, like, you know what I mean? Like it's night and day different than last season, whether it's special teams or whether it's 5-on-5. Like it really doesn't matter. Just gives an entirely new look to this offense. He led the team in shots in like
5
in
shots,
this game. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's just like a cool, I guess that's like pretty layman to just say like, oh, it's cool, but like it really is. It's dynamic. Like that is the word that I when he is on the ice, and especially when he has the puck on his stick, man, the offense is more dynamic with him on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, a 64% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 for Shane Ghost Despair in this game tells all the story. Daniel Sprong, by the way, 95% expected goals for percentage in this game. Absolutely killer. Love that guy. David Perron, Michael Rasmussen, and JT Comfer all had north of 90% expected goals for percentages as well. Just absolutely killing it this entire team, this entire game. But yeah, going back to your point, Shane Ghost Despair, I want to be careful with what I say, because obviously Phil Pronik was a gifted offensive defenseman as well, and younger defenseman as well, over Shane Ghost Despair. But what I've seen out of Shane Ghost Despair so far makes me, because it's preseason, I really want to hesitate saying this, but I think there's a possibility, let's say it that way. I think there's a possibility that Shane Ghost Despair is a better offensive defenseman than Phil Peronic is. And that doesn't, I mean, saying that out loud, it sounds like no doubt, because he's proved it in the NHL before. He can be really good. And he had a great year last year. But in terms of this Red Wings team, I think Ghost Despair might be an upgrade this season over whatever Phil Peronic could have been, because Phil Peronic was also very prone to big, like, defensive gaffes as well. Like he'd go on didn't he have like a 4-game goal streak, and that ended with a horrible turnover in the neutral zone? He would be a very give and take type defenseman. Ghost Despair, while providing that huge offensive spark, at least so far through the preseason, and granted, again, preseason, yada, yada, has not looked like a defensive black hole either. He looks like he's been competent back there as well. And that's why I think there's the possibility he could be a pretty solid upgrade. He's been great in the offensive zone and moving the puck up the ice, but he hasn't looked lost in the defensive zone either. So I've been very pleased with what I've seen. Out of Simon Edvinsson as well. Simon Edvinsson is he's like here. He's like this close, guys. He is so close to being on this NHL roster. And I'm really wondering if he makes the team outright. I don't know who they'd have to move to make it happen, but he is this close, guys. And
Mantha?
Plus, maybe it's tough, because this is such a deep, and it's a good problem to have, but this is such a deep team full of like actual NHL caliber players right now that it's tough to look at any individual player and be like, you're gone.
Yeah, I agreed. And like, I think my money is still on him just not making the team out of camp. But if he were, like, I think that conversation just goes to most expendable contract, which is objectively Oli Mata's. So,
yes. Yeah, I agree. Also, if we could talk about two players who have kind of bummed me out, I have not really been overly impressed with Jonathan Berggren or Marco Kasper in the last 2 games over this weekend, at least.
Yeah, I think Berger more than Kasper for me, just because I never expected Kasper to make the team out of camp. So
it's true. And Kasper only played on Sunday, to be fair.
Yeah, so like I'm kind of like, my mind with Kasper is like, give him this. What?
That's a lie. He played on Saturday too. I'm just misremembering.
Yeah, you're fine. I think like my mindset for Kasper is like get him this experience. I'm glad he's here. Keep him until the last cut. But like I'm more interested in like how he develops in the AHL this year.
Yeah. And that's for sure going to be the big thing. And I was hoping a little bit more out of Bergeron after how good of a
Yeah,
year he
Berger I
had
think is a
last year.
legitimate thing to bring up because like he's supposed to be
And he played well in the NHL last year.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it's a little inconsistent at times because he was a rookie, but a lot of the times he made whatever line he was on better. We've preached that on this show. But I feel like, and in these last 2 games, it's kind of backed up by the fact that his Corsi for percentage was 34.78. His relative Corsi was -14, which means on the ice, the team produced less shot attempts for than shot attempts against versus when he was off the ice. And his expected goals for percentage was 20%. Relative was -27% against the Capitals. And then he and Kasper were the worst 2 players today against the Blackhawks. The only 2 players on the team with an expected goals for percentage below 50% on 5-on-5. And like, I'm not trying to sound any alarms. Again, as we keep saying, preseason, B team, yada, yada, whatever. You can't put too much stock into it, but it is a little like it catches your eye that these 2 guys who us Red Wings fans have put a lot of stock into have maybe not gotten off to the rip-roaring starts we would hope for them in the preseason.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't really have too much else to add. I agree with that.
Michael Rasmussen scored twice, so eat it, Scotty.
What? I'm not a Ras hater.
No, but you right now. I need somebody to direct the Ras hate at the Ras love at. I don't know. So you're the manifestation right now of the Ras hater in my eyes.
Okay.
Just because I need somebody to direct it at.
Yeah, glad I can be your punching bag, dude.
You should be used to it at this point. I don't know. It's as if you don't punch me.
Yeah, I don't.
Have you seen the bruise on my leg?
No. What?
I didn't send you the snap of the bruise on my leg.
No, dude. You only Snapchat me cats.
It's so true.
I get from you are just cats.
It's so true. I'll pull my pants down and show you a picture of my bruise after we get off recording.
Yeah, I'd like that.
It's just above my knee. I blocked a shot in my hockey game last week, and it's like this big.
Did you win?
We lost 2-1 that game.
Heart and hustle, baby.
Heart and hustle. It hurt. I was hurting.
It sounds painful.
Yeah. 2 of me still had a goal. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Amadeus Lombardi got an assist on Elmer Soderblom's goal. That was cool. Mm-hmm. The tweet was Elmer from Ammo.
Nice.
Hearing that.
Like that.
But I mean, like, overall, great game against the Chicago Blackhawks. They dominated. I think they had a 75 as a team. They had an expected goals for percentage of 75% in the first and the second period before taking their foot off the pedal a little bit in the third period, minus that 5-minute power play where they scored that goal. I think that was Rasmussen's second goal.
Yeah,
that was a great game. If they can score 11 collective goals every 2 games, then they're going to do pretty good this season.
I agree.
So, any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't talk about?
I don't think so, man. I think that's it. We ball.
Bears suck. They're awful. Just
LOL.
Hate to see it. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. We will plan on talking about the Lion and Reimer situation. If something pops up on Monday, then we won't talk about it because we'll talk about that instead. But we will talk about that Lion situation, hopefully before the decision is made.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they'll hold that out, though. That'll be one of the last cuts of camp.
So we'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.